Buy Sri Lanka's best internet package for online learning and online working with many amazing offers. Call 1212 for more information. Sri Lanka Telecom.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, no more debt reliance. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa outlines a paradigm shift for the country at the Virtual Economic Summit 2020.
Over-reliance on loan must come to an end. The focus of the government is on fostering investment. Value-generating proposals will receive the government's serious attention.
Higher and higher. Death toll rises to 11 from pharmaceutical drug-fueled Mahara prison riot.
21,000 tablets for mental diseases were in the prison hospital. We are going to conduct investigation.
The coming storm. Met Department issues red warning of cyclone tipped across the eastern coast as schools ordered shut down.
The system is very likely to intensify into the cyclonic storm within the next 24 hours.
Changing dates. Education Minister says ordinary level examination to be postponed again with bi-weekly review. All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Tuesday, the 1st of December 2020.
Nava sunlight sakura. Then dikukal pavatina sakura mal suandin.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammika Kanayaka. Now, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa today revealed his plan to shift Sri Lanka's focus from an over-reliance on foreign loans to an investment-oriented economic model. Addressing the Sri Lanka Economic Summit 2020, the head of state added that through its budget proposals that included a host of incentives for the private sector, the government aims to play the part of an enabler to assist industries to unleash their full potential. The president also pledged the government's full attention to what he termed value-generating proposals put forth by the private sector.
The large volume of pending debt repayments is a matter of concern. Sri Lanka has always met its debt obligations on time and in full, and that we will continue to do so. Nevertheless, our over-reliance on loans must come to an end. That is why the focus of the government is on fostering investments. With this in view, the government is bringing in new laws to fully protect investments. In this context, I must also note there have been several instances of projects, including some funded by foreign governments, that have stalled due to various reasons. The government is keen on addressing such problems.
Touching on the subject of reviving the country's stalled tourism industry, the president stated that industry leaders and health officials must set out a comprehensive plan to restart tourism and focus on higher revenue through the targeting of high-end tourism markets.
Several key economic areas have been badly affected. The worst hit has been tourism. Leaders in this industry, together with the medical community, must set out a plan to restart tourism as soon as possible. This plan must adhere to all health protocols and ensure tourists have an enjoyable stay in Sri Lanka while remaining isolated from the wider public. By imposing minimum lengths of stay and attracting high-spending tourists, it should maximize earnings so that the economy benefits overall. Especially since the number of tourist arrivals may need to be limited early on, we should first reopen to the highest spending tourists we can attract.
The president added that with the constraints on global trade brought on by the pandemic, countries like Sri Lanka are perfectly poised to take advantage of the new opportunities available, which has been evident by high export revenue this year, largely due to the efforts of the private sector.
Despite its overall negative impact on the economy, the current situation has provided an impetus for improvements in certain sectors including manufacturing. I'm in fact glad to note that Sri Lanka's export revenue in 2020 overall has fared considerably better. This is largely due to commendable efforts by our private sector. We must also understand that the disruption of global value chains and supply chain and constraints on traditional manufacturing hubs create space for countries like Sri Lanka to innovate, produce new things, and enter new markets. Instead of relying on our geostrategic position and traditional industries alone, we must seek new frontiers for our resources. With the government as an enabler, the private sector must expand its role in the economy. The government will play its part to unleash the full potential of the private sector. The budget for 2021 contains a range of initiatives designed with this in mind. The agriculture, fisheries, and poultry sectors will be exempted from income tax for the next 5 years. Tax concessions will be granted for strategic investments larger than $10 million for agricultural product processing, IT, dairy, fabric, tourism, and export industries.
The development of digital infrastructure too must be given pride of place by the private sector, the President added, while urging companies to make full use of budget incentives to seek new markets and invest in education and training.
New investment into digital infrastructure is being strongly encouraged. Companies in the information technology space must make full use of these incentives to expand and seek new markets for Sri Lankan talent. Companies must also invest more in IT education and training. Vocational and technical education in general can benefit from much greater private sector investment, for which the budget also provides incentives. Small and medium enterprises and startups are being encouraged through concessionary funding schemes and the establishment of a stronger development bank that should lend based on assessments of project viability instead of collateral.
Meanwhile, the head of state also stated that robust economic development must be spearheaded by a combined effort of the private and public sector, and pledged the government's full attention to value-generating proposals put forward by the private sector.
A range of capital market incentives are also being introduced to encourage investment. Setting the platform for a robust economic revival requires both the public sector and the private sector to work in partnership. I am aware that the Ceylon Chamber of Commerce has prepared an economic acceleration framework. I appreciate this initiative and look forward to pursuing this document. Value-generating proposals will certainly receive the government's serious attention.
Safeguard hand sanitizer නවතම නිෂ්පාදන පෙළ නීරෝගිමත් දිවයකට ලංකාවේ පළමු වරට හඳුන්වා දෙන මැලිබන් වෙජි ක්‍රැකර්
Crunchy veggie.
Now, the Supreme Court today rejected 11 petitions filed challenging the Gazette notification issued mandating the cremation of bodies of victims who perished owing to coronavirus. Now, with there being incidents where relatives of COVID-19 dead had refused to bear the cost of cremation, the government has decided to shoulder that expense as well. In some cases, there had been an ultimatum to the tune, if you won't allow us to bury the body, we won't bear the cremation costs.
The second wave of the COVID-19 virus hit Sri Lanka last month, and even by then, the phrase new normal had been something of a buzzword to describe the circumstances the people found themselves in this global pandemic situation. But what has become normal over the past weeks is the daily detection of hundreds of virus cases in Sri Lanka. Yesterday, 503 fresh cases of COVID-19 were confirmed in the country across 14 districts. As it has been for weeks, the Colombo district yet again recorded the most infections with 147. Gampaha, which saw a slowdown in infection numbers in the past, shows an uptick with 130 new cases being recorded from the district yesterday. As for the rest of the cases, 41 were reported from Kandy, 28 each from Ampara and Kalutara, 25 from Ratnapura, 19 from Putlam, 11 from Jaffna, while 10 cases were confirmed from Kurunegala. Meanwhile, results of the random PCR test conducted on 202 persons in the area of Dulapitiya returned yesterday, with 35 people testing positive for the virus. Health officials say that out of 4,600 PCR tests conducted in Dulapitiya since the onset of the second wave, only 101 positive cases have been recorded. Meanwhile, 600 people residing in the isolated area of Atulugama in Bandaragama were referred for rapid antigen tests and PCR tests today. The results showed that 40 persons out of 200 tests have contracted the coronavirus. In the meantime, with the identification of 7 fresh cases from the area of Bogambara in Kandy, the total number of COVID-19 cases in the area has risen to 12. This resulted in the temporary closure of the Bogambara zonal office of the Kandy Municipal Council. Another grave and common occurrence ever since the second wave of COVID-19 hit Sri Lanka has been the frequent deaths. With 2 more being added to the tally late last evening, Sri Lanka's COVID-19 death toll went up to 118. One of them, a 72-year-old resident from Galaha in Peradeniya, had died on admission to the Peradeniya Teaching Hospital on the 27th of last month. He had been suffering from diabetes, and the immediate cause of death is identified as high blood pressure and cardiac arrest induced by the virus. It is also the first COVID-19 related death reported from the Kandy district. However, it was reported to AdaDerana that his relatives had refused to bear cost of the cremation since the remains are not allowed to be buried. When inquired by AdaDerana, the coroner of the Peradeniya Teaching Hospital stated that health authorities have been given the go-ahead to cremate the body if the relatives fail to attend the cremation process before 9 a.m. tomorrow. The other victim is an 81-year-old resident of Atulugama who died owing to high blood pressure and increased blood cholesterol. She too had been suffering from diabetes. In more developments, the Supreme Court has rejected the 11 petitions filed challenging the Gazette notification mandating the cremation of bodies of COVID-19 victims. The petitions were filed by 11 parties including the All Ceylon Makkal Congress and the Sri Lanka Muslim Congress. Further, the Department of Government Information said today that the government will bear the cremation expenses of COVID-19 deceased whose remains are left unclaimed by their relatives. As things stand, the number of coronavirus patients in the country is 24,255, but only 6,320 from that figure are active cases. 17,817 COVID-19 patients have returned home following complete recovery since the virus was first detected in the island.
Now, in the meantime, Education Minister Professor G.L. Piris announced today that the GCE ordinary level examination has been postponed. It was set to be worked off from the 18th to the 27th of January next year. The minister also stated that the situation will be reviewed every 2 weeks and the ministry will strive to hold the examination as soon as possible with a minimum of 6 weeks' notice to be given for students for preparation.
COVID-19 ප්‍රශ්නය අවසන් වූ විගස අපි අනිත් පාසල් විවෘත කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. ඒ අතර මේ දුරස්ථ අධ්‍යාපනය ඊටක්සලාව ගුරු ගෙදර වැනි වැඩපිළිවෙල හරහා ඒ දරුවන්ට වන හානිය අවම කිරීමට අපි උත්සාහ දරනවා. පොදු සහතික සාමාන්‍ය පෙළ විභාගයේ දැනට අපි දින නියම කරලා තිබෙනවා. 2021 ජනවාරි 18 වෙනිදා සිට 27 වෙනිදා දක්වා. මේ රටේ සමස්තයක් හැටියට පාසල් තිබෙනවා 10,165. ඒ පාසල් වලින් දැනට විවෘත කරලා පන්ති පවත්වාගෙන යන්නේ පාසල් දල වශයෙන් 5,100ක. ඒතර 11 වන ශ්‍රේණියේ පන්ති වලට යන්න පුළුවන් වන්නේ ශිෂ්‍යයන් භාගයකට පමණයි. එහෙනම් මේ විභාගය දැන් නියම කරලා තිබෙන දින වකවානුව තුල පැවැත්වීම අසාධාරණයි කියලා මම විශ්වාස කරනවා. අද පවතින තත්ත්වය තුල සුදුසු තීරණය වන්නේ ඒ විභාගය ටිකක් කල් දැමීම. සතිය දෙකෙන් දෙකට මේ තත්ත්වය සමාලෝචනය කරලා හැකියතාක් ඉක්මනින් සාමාන්‍ය පෙළ විභාගය පැවැත්වීමට අපි උත්සාහ දරනවා. ඒ වගේම මම පැහැදිලිව ප්‍රකාශ කරනවා අපි අලුත් දිනය තීරණය කිරීමේදී අවම වශයෙන් විභාග අපේක්ෂකයන්ට සති 6ක කාලයක් ලබා දෙනවා.
Meanwhile, in response to questions regarding university appointments, the Education Minister offered an explanation on the new procedures which garnered a heated response from the Chief Opposition Whip.
ඉරාන් වික්‍රමරත්න මෙතුමා මම හෙව්වා උපකුලීපතිවරුන් පත් කිරීමේ ක්‍රමවේදය ඒ කිසිම ගැටලුවක් නැහැ. මේ ලක්ෂ්මන් කිරියල් ගරු මන්ත්‍රීතුමා කීප සැරයක් මේ ප්‍රශ්නය මතු කළා. මම ඒ ගැන විස්තර සහිතව හොයා බැලුවා. දැන් තියෙන ක්‍රමවේදය තමයි කමිටුවක් පත් කරනවා. ඒ කමිටුවට ඇතුළත් වන සනාතන සභාවේ ඔතුමා සඳහන් කළා සනාතන සභාවේ තමයි ඇකඩමික්ස්ලා ඉන්නේ ආචාර්යවරු. ඒතකොට හිටපු උපකුලපතිවරයා අපේක්ෂකෙක් නොවේ නම් එතුමාවත් ඇතුළත් කරනවා. ඒ සියලු දෙනාම ඇතුළත් කරලා විස්තර සහිත වාර්තාවක් පිළියෙල කරනවා ඒ අපේක්ෂකයන් ගැන. ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ අධ්‍යාපන සුදුසුකම් විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයට ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ කෙරිච්ච සේවය පරිශ්‍රණ මේ සියල්ලක්ම විස්තර සහිත වාර්තාවක් ඉදිරිපත් කරනවා විශ්වවිද්‍යාලයේ පාලක මණ්ඩලයට. ඒ කියන්නේ සිතා බලලා තමයි ඒ නම් තුන ජනාධිපතිවරයාට යනවා. හරි ඉස්සෙල්ලා ක්‍රමය වුණේ පාලක මණ්ඩලය රැස් වෙනවා තේ කෝප්පයක් බොනවා ඊට පස්සේ නම් තුනක් යවනවා.
2004 ඉඳලා 2018 මමත් උසස් අධ්‍යාපන ඇමතිවරයාට කටයුතු කරලා තියෙනවා. උපකුලපතිවරයා පත් කරුවේ පාලක සභාවේ ඡන්දේ. තේ කෝප්පයක් බීලා නෑ. මේ විකාර කතා කරන්නේ. I'm ashamed of this explanation. ඡන්දෙන් පත් කරුවේ. මෙතුමා ඇවිල්ලා කොමිටියක් පත් කළා.
No, that is wrong. There was a problem earlier. Yeah. No, there was a problem earlier. There were dummies that were put forward. That has happened. So, no. No, I'm not misleading the House.
You have gone to high class universities.
Yes.
Don't destroy the independence of the only the election. Now there is no election.
There never was an election. When my name was sent up to President J.R. Jayawardena, there was no there was no vote taken at that time.
We will see you once more on the other side of this break. Stay with us.
Ceylon Bank, the bank with a heart.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now there are warnings of a possible cyclonic storm in the next 24 hours, especially in the eastern part of the country. The Department of Meteorology therefore urges people to be vigilant. With extreme weather expected, all schools in the eastern province were closed until Friday.
The Department of Meteorology issued a red warning at 4 p.m. today, stating that the deep depression in the southeast Bay of Bengal is likely to intensify further into cyclonic storm and cross the eastern coast of Sri Lanka.
The depression area in the southeast Bay of Bengal has converted into deep depression and lay center 490 kilometers southeast to Trincomalee at 2:30 today. The system is very likely to intensify into the cyclonic storm during the next 24 hours. The system is very likely to move west-northwestward and cross eastern coast of Sri Lanka between Batticaloa and Point Peduru around tomorrow evening or night. Intermediate showers or thunder showers will occur in the eastern, northern, northwestern, central and southern provinces. Very heavy rainfall, about 200 millimeters, can be expected at some places. Showers or thunder showers at times will occur elsewhere. Heavy rainfall, about 100 millimeters, can be expected at some places.
Due to this situation, the wind speeds in the sea areas around the island can increase up to 80 to 100 kilometers per hour from today until Thursday. Furthermore, strong gusty winds of 80 to 100 kilometers per hour can be expected in the northern, north central, eastern, northwestern, western, central and Sabargamuwa provinces in the next 2 days. The Department of Meteorology requests people to be vigilant regarding the extreme weather situation, while urging them to contact local disaster management authorities in case of emergencies. In the meantime, taking the adverse weather forecast into account, Governor of the Eastern Province Anuradha Yahampath has instructed provincial education officials to close all schools in the province from tomorrow until Friday. The move was made since adverse weather can affect the people in the province and schools will be used as displacement camps in such a scenario.
The Cabinet media briefing was held virtually yesterday for the first time in Sri Lanka's history. During the meeting, it was revealed that a decision had been made to appoint a committee to investigate irregularities in the Grand Hyatt project, which stalled under the previous government.
2012දී ආරම්භ වුණු ග්‍රෑන්ඩ් හයාත් හෝටලේ ඉදිකිරීමේ ව්‍යාපෘතිය 2015 බලයට පැමිණි ආණ්ඩුව හදිසියෙම නතර කිරීම නිසා ආණ්ඩුවට බලවත් පාඩුවක් සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙනවා. හෝටලේ ඉදිකිරීම පමා කිරීමෙන් රුපියල් බිලියන 30ක පාඩුවකුත් හෝටලය ඉදිකිරීමේ සිටි සමාගමේ ගෙවුසුම සාධාරණ හේතුන්තරව අවලංගු කිරීමෙන් වන්දි වශයෙන් සමාගමට ගෙවීමේදී රුපියල් බිලියන 1.8ක පාඩුවකුත් වශයෙන් රුපියල් බිලියන 31.8ක පාඩුවක් මහජනතාවට ආණ්ඩුවට සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙනවා. හිටපු අග්‍ර විනිශ්චයකාර අශෝකද සිල්වා මැතිතුමාගේ ප්‍රධානත්වයෙන් සය පුද්ගල කමිටුවක් පත් කරන්න තීරණය කළා. මේ මහජනතාවට මෙතරම් දැවැන්ත පාඩුවක් සිදු කිරීමට වක්කිය යුතු නිලධාරීන් සහ දේශපාලන බලධාරීන් හඳුනගෙන ඔවුන්ට නීතිය ක්‍රියාත්මක කිරීම සඳහා.
In the meantime, Minister Rambukwella also answered a question on the reasons for State Minister Sudarshini Fernando-Pillai being given the new portfolio of primary health services, pandemics and COVID prevention yesterday.
I think she's a specialist on the subject. Right, and then not only here, even in UK, there is a minister appointed recently. A state minister was appointed for COVID, who is an expert on the subject. So, in terms of the appointment of Mrs. Fernando-Pillai, she's a specialist in that particular community disease field. So that's the reason why she is appointed and she is given that responsibility.
Now, the death toll from the Mahara prison clash has increased to 11 today, with 3 more inmates succumbing to their injuries. Meanwhile, the root cause of the clash was outlined to the media, revealing that the inmates had broken into the prison dispensary and had consumed pharmaceutical pills that had led to their aggressive behaviour. Speaking to the media, police media spokesperson DIG Ajit Rohan stated that 20,000 pills used for the treatment of mental disorders were stocked in the dispensary, and added that an investigation is to be launched to determine why such a massive quantity was even necessary.
The death toll from the unrest that erupted at the Mahara prison increased to 11, with the death of 3 more inmates today who succumbed while being treated in hospital. The number of people injured due to the clash is currently at 108, while 106 of them being inmates, while 2 are prison officers. Among the inmates admitted to Ragama Hospital with injuries, 26 COVID-19 infections were identified among them yesterday, while a further 12 were confirmed today. It places the number of injured inmates at hospital with COVID-19 at 38. The authorities today took steps to deploy the army at the Ragama Teaching Hospital, where the prison inmates are being treated. Meanwhile, the root causes and the manner in which the prison clash took place was explained to media today, where details into the incident were revealed. Due to the current situation, inmates at the Mahara prison are broken into group and served meals. When food was served last Sunday, about 1,600 inmates had broken down the doors where they were detained and had marched towards the front gate of the prison. They had begun protesting, demanding PCR tests. The superintendent of prisons, the assistant superintendent and the chief jailer had then explained the situation to the inmates and had attempted to calm the situation. The detainees, however, had disobeyed the authorities and had attacked the officers.
On instructions of IG Police and the Secretary Defence, the Criminal Investigation Department has initiated investigation into the alleged incident in Mahara Prison, and a special team consisting of CID officers led by a superintendent of police is conducting investigation into the incident. Sri Lanka Prisons Department, Sri Lanka Police and STF planning a strategy in order to protect all the inmates of the prison, especially since day before yesterday evening there had been sporadic incidents inside the prison premises, clashes between the prisoners. We need to stop it and we need to normalize the situation.
It was also revealed that the inmates have broken into the prison's dispensary and had taken the pills in storage, following which they displayed aggressive behavior.
It has been revealed that 21,000 tablets that have been prescribed for mental diseases or sleeping tablets were available in the prison premises, especially in the prison hospital. So therefore, we are going to conduct investigation into that particular issue also, why this type of large number of tablets had been kept in the prison premises, who ordered.
Meanwhile, the police and the Special Task Force have taken action to control the riotous behavior of a group of inmates at the Mahara prison today as well. Relatives of the inmates in the meantime remonstrated, blocking the road near the prison. In another development, a group of inmates remanded at the Valikada prison who are unable to pay their fines continue to protest for the 5th consecutive day. Meanwhile, the situation at the Mahara prison was also taken up at the parliament today.
You can issue a general amnesty.
We have done that.
Yeah.
About 637 people have been given on a general amnesty. We have discussed with all various stakeholders, including the police and the Honourable Attorney General, and also the Judicial Service Commission, in order to expedite the process of granting the bail. And there is a problem there. Even after granting the bail, they were to be quarantined for 14 days. Now we are looking at the possibility of, rather than quarantining in that places, straight away send them to their houses and to home quarantine. So several measures have been taken in, but I didn't want to just respond ad hocly. We will give you a detailed answer in one of these days. Whoever who can't furnish bail, we are coming out with a mechanism. So on their own personal surety, they could be released, and we will give them about 3 months' time for them to grant their sureties. So we'll take everything which is possible to address this.
The Minister of Justice appointed a 5-member committee to investigate into the prison riot. The committee is chaired by retired High Court Judge Kusala Sarojini Veerawardena. Police media spokesperson DIG Ajit Rohana, who was also appointed as a member of the committee, has issued a letter to the subject minister today, citing a conflict of interest as he also holds the position of the police media spokesperson. In the meantime, Cabinet co-spokesperson Kehelia Rambukwella today said that the government bears full responsibility over the events that took place at the Mahara prison.
මම මේක සාධාරණීය කරන්න උත්සාහ කරන්නේ වක්කීම සම්පූර්ණයෙන් අපි බාර ගන්නවා රජයක් හැටියට. මේක දවසකින් දෙකකින් ඉවර කරන්න පුළුවන් ප්‍රශ්නයක් නෙමෙයි. මුල් බැහැගත්ත ප්‍රශ්නයක්.
පළවෙනි විමර්ශනයේ දෙපාර්තමේන්තුව මත කොමසාරිස් ජෙනරාල්වරයා විසින් පත් කරන ලද බන්ධනාගාර කොමසාරිස්වරයෙක්ගේ සභාපතිත්වයෙන් කමිටුව දෙපාර්තමේන්තුව මට්ටමේ විමර්ශනය. දෙවෙනි එක රාජ්‍ය අමාත්‍යාංශ මට්ටමේ විමර්ශනයක් සිදු වෙනවා. රාජ්‍ය අමාත්‍යවරිය විසින් පත් කරන ලද රාජ්‍ය අමාත්‍යාංශයේ ලේකම්වරිය සභාපතිත්වයෙන් කමිටුව මගින් තුන්වෙනුව විශේෂ භාර කැබිනට් අමාත්‍යවරයා වන අධිකරණ අමාත්‍යවරයා විසින් පත් කරන ලද කුසලා සරෝජිනී වීරවර්ධන හිටපු මහාධිකරණ විනිසුරුතුමියගේ ප්‍රධානත්වයෙන් තියෙන පංචපුද්ගල කමිටුව ඊට පරිබාහිරව ස්වාධීන පරීක්ෂණයක් විදියට ආරක්ෂක අමාත්‍යාංශ ලේකම්වරයාගේ නියෝගයෙන් අපරාධ පරීක්ෂණ දෙපාර්තමේන්තුව විසින් පරීක්ෂණයක් කරනවා. ඒතකොට මේ සිදුවීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් ආණ්ඩුව විසින්ම දැනට සමාන්තරව පරීක්ෂණ 4ක් සිදු කරමින් පවතිනවා.
The cabinet co-spokesperson were also questioned on whether the families of those who were shot and killed at the prison will be given compensation.
මේ පිළිබඳ විමර්ශන වාර්තාවන් පැමිණියාට පසුව තමයි ඒ පිළිබඳ ප්‍රතිපත්තිමය තීරණයක් ගන්න පුළුවන්. සිදු වුණේ කුමක්ද කියලා අපි දන්නෙත් නැහැ තවම. සිදුවීම තාම අවසන් වෙලත් නැහැ. අමාත්‍ය මණ්ඩලයේ මට්ටමේ සාකච්ඡාවක් සිද්ධ වෙලා නැහැ. ඒකට අවශ්‍ය ප්‍රමාණවත් කරුණු තාම අපි ගාව නැහැ.
We'll see you shortly. Welcome back. Now, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has appointed Justice Arjun Obesekara as the new president of the Court of Appeal. Marking a new milestone in the judicial system of the country, 21 new judges to the superior courts were sworn in before the head of state. 6 new judges to the Supreme Court and 14 new judges to the Court of Appeal took oath before the president at the Presidential Secretariat today. And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.